didn't get to see a lot of that at Willamette, did you?
No, I didn't get to see any of
We had
it.
High side
outlaw
panels.
late models that
Oh, my
weighed
God.
1,800 pounds with 410 fuel-injected sprint car engines and 65-inch sideboards, and the bodies were 83 inches wide. And I mean, you saw some creations that
Oh my gosh.
that were pretty wicked.
High Wallers had a pretty badass.
Yeah, they had some
Yeah.
good. They had some cars
Back in
that
those
were.
days.
You know, and
There's a lot of 'em.
back then. It was what was so cool is you could get creative. You know, you could
Yeah.
build your race car. You'd see. I mean, the way they still had rules. I mean, there was no sprint car wings allowed. There was no nitrous. You had to weigh. Well, back then, before they brought the weight rule in, we had guys that actually weighed 1,600 pounds with a late model. Believe it or not, yeah.
How
there
do you
was,
do
I
that?
mean, there were very few rules. You could put. In fact, this is no joke, Joel. Back in the day, we had 4 or 5 classes of rules on one side of a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard about those days.
And the racing was, oh man, it was something to watch. It
Oh,
was,
yeah.
But you think
you know,
about
that
it.
was the era of Wagner and Bob Boyd and Jay
Bob
Buffy
Jeffries.
and Bob Jeffrey and
Oh, yeah.
Russell and I
Right,
mean you
right.
had these outlaw open comp cars with wedge noses and just wicked
Bob Jeffries with a V6.
V6.
Yeah. Smoking everybody.
Yep. And then, you know, it was just so funny because I remember before it really went high tech outlaw, you'd see in the feature, you'd see, you know, Russ and Bob Jeffrey and Darren Koffel with their wedge cars and you know, Russ and Darren had fuel injected engines, and you'd
Yeah.
have Rob Lava out there in the little Volkswagen and Silvernagle in his 4-wheel drive Nova.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, you saw a little bit of everything, and to watch that was awesome.
Those were good days.
Yeah, it was.
Well, and you think about it. You had 4 classes on one sheet of paper.
4 or 5 classes on one. You know, there was a
yeah.
general set of rules that applied to everybody, and then there was the.
Let's see. You had to have a welded center on your right front, maybe. I think was a rule.
I mean, it was the rules were few and far between, but
Well,
it made for some just the most incredible racing you've ever seen, and today's racing isn't bad.
No.
And I think, you know, everybody under the same rules is good.
It's gotten more organized, which makes it better for everybody involved.
Right.
It
Well,
really
and
does.
the advantage to that is to the racer themselves. They can take those cars anywhere in the country and go race now.
Yeah.
Where before, you know, you built a car to race Willamette, you raced Willamette unless it was an I-5 race that went to a different track.
Right.
Yeah. The other rule, I think you're referring to this body rule because I don't remember this from last year. I'd have to pull out my rule sheets from last year. On the sides, and I'm talking the doors and the rear
IMCA
quarter of the
modifieds.
IMCA modifieds, 27-inch minimum, 31-inch maximum height.
So
Front to
now
back.
let me ask you a question. As a crew chief, why would you not make it 31 inches? Why would you
Or
not
why
max
would
it?
you?
Yeah.
Why would you or why wouldn't
Give me
you?
your thoughts on that.
Here's the thing is, with the spring and shock package, some of these guys are running on these cars. When that car is up on the bars and in the corner, that side will be in the ground at 27 inches.
So are we measuring this 27 inches from the ground to
No,
the top of the door?
No, you're measuring your total height. So your height from your deck down to the bottom of the plastic on the doors.
Okay, so from the
Okay.
top of the deck.
The extreme top of the door to the extreme bottom of the door.
Okay.
Okay.
Straight up and down. Minimum of 27, maximum of 31.
So
What is the advantage or disadvantage of, just for example, being taller? What's the,
you're going to catch more wind.
You're going to catch
on
more
the
wind.
driver's door?
But on the
Passenger.
on both.
Okay, right side, left side.
Yeah,
Okay.
both sides. So here's the thing: if it's too long, if it's taller, you're gonna catch more air,
Right.
and air is
Create
free.
more downforce.
Keep the car tighter.
Right.
You're gonna keep it aerodynamically tight. However, if you've got that car set up to roll over and be on the bars hard, that door's going to be in the ground, and then you're going to be running into a debris issue. Then you're going to run into friction issues. You're going to be having friction. You tear that door up, well, where's it going to go? What's in line with the door? The tires. So now
Right.
you're going to possibly blow a left side tire or cut a left side tire down.
So what's the advantage or disadvantage to having it short? Obviously, you're going to give up some aero.
You're going to give up some aero.
Is that a significant amount? Do you think? I mean, does that play
On the
a big,
tracks
does that
they
play
were-
a big enough part that this is a big deal, or is this just kind of like, okay, here's the rule and this is
I would
this
say,
is a guideline?
and this is of my opinion, tracks like Sunset, Willamette Speedway, Cottage Grove, no, it's not going to be that big of a deal. You get to tracks like Elma and Las Vegas. Okay, now that more, the higher
More speed.
the higher is going to create more downforce. I do see that creating an advantage. And I may be wrong, but that's the way.
You got to think though. 2-inch blade's 2-inch blade.
Right.
When they took it from a 3-inch blade down to a 2-inch blade, you're losing 60 or 33% of your surface area on your spoiler.
Right. Which
But-
is going to free the car up quite a bit.
Which it's going to, free it up. You're taking away 33% of that downforce that was created by that spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Then you took the complete spoiler away.
So if your sides are taller and you're measuring that 31 inches from the top of the door to the bottom, okay, does that mean your deck is also mounted higher on the car? It would have to be.
It's a possibility.
Because do they?
But then
not,
you gotta think, if you
so
have-
does IMCA not allow recessed deck lids?
No, you cannot. You cannot have a drop deck.
So your deck has to be in line with the top of that door.
Uh-huh.
So if your
I
door is
believe-
31 inches, then your deck is going to sit higher on the car.
The
Yes, because that would be
thicken.
be
Okay.
considered a
Well, now
lip
you're
or a
making
fin.
up for that 2 inches that you just took off, or the inch you just took off the rear spoiler. Why wouldn't you go taller?
Exactly.
I would.
Good thinking.
I would too. Here, this is why racers are crafty, because we start sitting here looking at a rule sheet and we're like, hey, wait a second, time out here.
Yeah,
It doesn't say you can't do this.
That's right. That's right. So we're gonna do it.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, and I just think that you use it to every advantage you can. If you got it, and the downforce with the modifieds is something that people talk about a lot. Given that you're on the small tires, you're trying to get as much downforce to your advantage. I don't see why you would build 27-inch doors when you're allowed to have 31. That's 5 inches. And that's not just in
That's 4.
or 4 inches. But that's not.
Do you still have Dane Bramage from Fremont Street?
That is. It was before Fremont, and that is permanent. It's not going away.
Oh, man.
The other deal, what I'm saying is, you're also creating side bite with that higher door too. As you get in the car in the corner. Warren, what are you looking for?
My phone. You took my phone. Did you give it to that guy out front or what?
Well, he might have it on his way to jail. I think your phone's over there on
Okay,
top
that's
of the
fine. That's
video
fine.
camera system. So, okay. So what else? And now, let's go back to these rules. Let's kind of see what they're changing here
Yeah,
in
what else is
2017.
Now they okay, so we went through your suspension. Okay, so they Section 15 under the brakes.
Okay.
They're going to change the brakes this year.
What are they changing?
From and to.
Well, now the rule reads the change is single link brake caliper floater allowed on rear, one per side.
And what was it before?
I don't remember. I haven't looked at the rule sheet and
So why are they changing?
Why would they do this?
Yeah, they've had to have an issue with this in the past, or
A lot of times, like with other classes of cars, the rules are made to make it affordable to everybody too. So guys can't be going out and buying a 6-cup piston, or
yeah, because you have to run single piston calipers.
right. So that's keeping the cost down. So it kind of keeps it even.
let's move on to the next rules. Let's see what else IMCA is
That's
doing.
pretty much it. The big one was the rear. There's really only 4 changes
Okay,
that I'm seeing.
but they're pretty significant.
They're pretty significant.
Okay.
The one change
Now-
which is interesting is that they have said, and this, they're talking about the frame. This one's going to be an advantage to some people and some car manufacturers. When they start talking about the frame, top left frame rail can be removed inside of the cockpit. So they're talking about the stock frame rail, I
Okay.
believe, and you can pull that out inside of the cockpit.
Okay, so is that a safety thing? Why would they? What's? Give me the background on this. What are you saying?
I'm trying to think exactly because the GRTs don't. The frame rail is completely outside of the cockpit.
Right.
There are
right.
there are no frame parts in.
Mhm.
You have a solid floor plan in a GRT. Or,
Okay.
excuse me, floor pan in a GRT.
Right.
I don't understand. And I've seen some cars where the frame rail actually is part of the floor pan. I'm not a big fan of that. Personally, I think the floor pan needs to be separate, and you need to have it as sealed as you can.
Absolutely.
It's a safety issue. And then maximum overall width shall not exceed 78 inches from outside of tire to outside of tire. No part of the frame or body can be lower than 4 inches from the ground, except front cross member and the rear underslung bars for an underslung frame.
Those are the only two parts of the car that can be lower than 4 inches from the ground.
Yes.
Okay. I can see the cross member. I get
Yeah,
that.
the cross member is always pushing and digging.
Right.
And this is in race-ready condition.
Okay, in race trim. Warren, when we were down at the duel, and we spent a lot of time over in the tech area walking up and down and kind of see, who's getting caught for what. And there was guys that got caught. I mean, nothing major. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody came, pretty well prepared, but there were some cars that got caught with stuff that I thought was, the rules are the rules, and IMCA is going to hold you to it. But there was guys getting caught for stuff that were just, not that they were getting caught, but it was wrong.
They were getting called on
Small stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that probably had absolutely no performance advantage in any way, shape, or form.
like on that the front side panels.
Yep.
Where that one had to be cut down at a 45.
Right.
Whose car was that on?
That was on.
Was that Mikey's car?
I think it was on Breakhall's car.
Yeah, I think so.
I
It
wanna
was
say.
just a little thing, but it had to be trimmed back at a 45-degree angle or something. And
On the hood, or not the hood, but the nose.
Uh-huh.
There was a piece that
The side fin.
was
Side
evidently
fin.
it was too high
at the top of it.
at the top of it, so they had to cut that off at a 45-degree angle so it would meet that measurement. And just little stuff like that, and they
If that's the way the rule says, and he didn't have a problem fixing it.
no,
or anything
it
like
was
that.
it was a matter of getting some tin snips out, and it took all
Right.
but 2 minutes to fix it. But,
Right.
I
but
heard
they were on it. They didn't miss much.
Yeah.
I heard that they were really watching the front nose of the car this year.
Well, and we saw, and that wasn't the only car we saw. When we walked through tech, and I've got some videos of going through tech, you're right when you say that, because the IMC officials, when those cars were at tech, there was a lot of them on the front of the car watching and measuring, and they were really on it. And and I know at certain shows they'll go say, well, we're going to really focus on this, or that we had some guys with this has been an issue, and they really focus on one area of the car. They were really good on going around the whole car, but it really watching it, and we talked about it down there, was the nose of the car seemed to be a big topic of discussion down there with the officials.
And a shout out to those officials as well. They did a great job. There was they were fair and biased to everybody. It was pretty even across the field.
Well, they're fair. The officials are fair until you're Moxie Media and the other official is Paul Vetter. I'm telling you.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Yeah, Paul. If you haven't met this guy, Paul was one of those guys that, as a racer, as a crew member, you're either really gonna like,
Yeah,
or you're not
absolutely.
gonna like at all. But
Right.
I love the dude. Him and his wife have
I
done
love his
nothing
wife.
but great for us.
She's a sweetheart.
She's expressed some opinions on some things that we were down there that we had some really good laughs about, and she is as nutty as he is, and that they're a great couple.
Straight
And
up people, though.
Oh, man.
Straight up.
Paul will joke with you, but when it's time to get serious, he's going to let you know, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Get it done or get out. That's how he rolls.
Well, when you're running a 300+ car show, that's the way you have to be.
You have to be.
You've got to toe the line. You've got to be right down the edge, because then if you don't do that, when you've got close to $10,000 on the line, if you don't just cut it right down there, black and white, draw the line in the sand, you're on it. You're over it on one side of it or the other. You're not on the line. You've got to do it. Otherwise, people are just going to scream foul.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and there was, I think we saw just a little bit of that, but nothing
There's
major.
always going to be that.
Oh, yeah. There was
Always.
guys calling each other. But I'll tell you what. I think watching the cars down there, and you see, the names we talked about prior to going down, the big names. I watched very closely the drivers communicating with their crews. Everybody seemed to be pretty tense. It was a pretty serious thing, with one exception. The one guy that I just thought, man, this guy's going to win it all. Watching the way he was just so comfortable. He got out of the car laughing, joking. He was talking to us like we've known each other 10 years, and I hadn't known him 10 minutes. And I thought, man, how do you beat somebody that's this comfortable with their stuff and he's fast? Terry Phillips.
Yeah.
Terry looked like, it was like it was his house and he was there every day and he was comfortable. And now, obviously, he didn't win it, but watching just watching body language and confidence, I would have put